Have you ever jumped to a wrong conclusion? Barry, a security guard at a local grocery store, did just that. He wasn't a bad guy, not really. But he was quick to judge, especially people who looked like they didn't have much. The store owners wanted to keep the store safe. So they told Barry to keep a close watch. Our story begins with Barry on duty. He stood tall near the entrance, his eyes scanning every customer who walked through the door. Barry believed he could spot a troublemaker a mile away. He thought if he looked tough, people would be less likely to cause problems. Little did he know, a lesson was coming his way. A lesson about judging books by their covers. This lesson would change how he saw the world. And it all started with a man who looked homeless. Just then, the bell above the door jingled. An older man walked in. His clothes were faded and patched, and his shoes looked like they'd seen better days. He had a long, grey beard, and his hair was messy. He looked tired, but his eyes were kind. They held a gentle light, a hint of something special hidden beneath the rough exterior. The man shuffled slowly, his shoulders slumped a bit. He didn't seem to notice Barry standing there, watching. He wasn't trying to hide anything. He just looked like someone who'd had a tough life. But even though he looked poor, there was a quiet dignity about him. He moved with a certain grace, like he was used to hardship but hadn't let it break his spirit. The kindness in his eyes was the first thing people noticed. Barry's eyes narrowed. The man's appearance immediately triggered his suspicions. Another one, he muttered to himself. He started following the man, keeping a close distance. He watched every move, every glance. Barry's mind was already made up. He assumed the man was there to steal something. He told himself he was just doing his job, keeping the store safe. But deep down, it was more than that. Barry felt a sense of superiority, a need to control. He saw the man as a problem, a threat. He didn't see the kindness in his eyes, the gentle demeanor. He only saw the worn clothes and the tired face. Barry's quick judgment was about to lead him down a wrong path, one filled with regret. He was so focused on his assumptions. He completely ignored the truth. The man wandered down the aisle, stopping in front of the bread. He reached out, his fingers hovering over a loaf of sliced bread. He hesitated, then looked around as if making sure no one was watching. Barry's heart pounded faster. He was sure of it now. The man was going to steal. The man picked up the bread. He looked at the price tag, his face etched with worry. Then, he slowly reached into his pocket, pulled out a few coins, and counted them. He didn't have enough. He sighed softly, looking defeated. Instead of putting the bread back, he looked around again, then quickly slipped the loaf into his large coat pocket. Barry had seen enough. This was his moment. He was ready to catch the thief red-handed and show everyone he was right. He imagined the praise he would get. "Hey! You! Stop right there!" Barry shouted, his voice booming through the quiet store. Everyone turned to look. Barry marched toward the man, his face red with anger. "I saw what you did. You think you can just steal from this store?" The man froze, his eyes wide with fear. He looked around, embarrassed by the attention. Barry grabbed his arm roughly. "Empty your pockets!" "Now," he demanded, his voice laced with accusation. Shoppers began to whisper, pointing at the man. Barry loved this part. He was the hero, protecting the store from criminals. But this time, he was wrong. Very wrong. He was about to shame an innocent man, a man who deserved respect, not humiliation. He was so caught up in his own assumptions. He didn't even give the man a chance to explain. The man's shoulders slumped even further. He didn't fight back or argue. He just stood there, looking defeated and ashamed. He mumbled something, but Barry couldn't hear him over the murmuring of the crowd. "What was that? Speak up!" Barry barked, tightening his grip on the man's arm. I can explain," the man said softly, his voice barely a whisper. But Barry wasn't listening. He didn't want to hear an explanation. He already knew what he thought was the truth. Save it for the police, Barry sneered. He was enjoying this too much. He loved the feeling of power, of being in control. He didn't care about the man's feelings or his story. He only cared about proving himself right. His prejudice had blinded him to the man's humanity. He was so close to ruining this man's life. Just then, a calm voice cut through the tension. "Barry, what's going on here?" It was Sarah, the store manager. She always seemed to know when something was wrong. Sarah was known for her kindness and fairness. She treated everyone with respect, no matter how they looked or where they came from. Sarah walked toward the commotion, her expression serious. She saw the fear in the man's eyes and the anger on Barry's face. She knew she had to step in. "Let's all calm down," she said gently, placing a hand on Barry's arm. "I'm sure we can sort this out." She gave Barry a look that said, "Let me handle this." Sarah's presence was a welcome change. Her calm demeanor offered a glimmer of hope for the wrongly accused man. She knew Barry's attitude wasn't right. It was a big contrast. Sarah turned her attention to the man, her eyes filled with compassion. "Sir," she said softly, "can you tell me what happened?" Her voice was gentle and reassuring. She wanted to give him a chance to speak, to explain himself. She knew that everyone deserves to be heard. The man hesitated for a moment, then looked down at his feet. I don't have much money," he mumbled, his voice filled with shame. "I was hoping to buy that bread for my dog. He hasn't eaten in 2 days." He looked up at Sarah, his eyes pleading. "I didn't mean to steal it. I didn't know what else to do." A wave of sympathy washed over Sarah. She saw the desperation in his eyes. She knew he wasn't a bad person. He was just a man down on his luck, trying to take care of his best friend. Barry, however, remained unconvinced. "That's a likely story," he scoffed. "He's still a thief. I saw him. We need to call the police." He reached for his radio, ready to make the call. Sarah sighed inwardly. Barry was so stubborn. She knew she had to act fast. As Barry reached for his radio, Sarah's eyes scanned the man again. She noticed something she hadn't seen before, a small, faded patch on his worn jacket. It was a military insignia, barely visible, but Sarah recognized it instantly. It was a symbol of courage and service. A symbol that spoke volumes about the man's past. She suddenly wondered if there was much more to this story. Something Barry clearly wasn't seeing. Something that could change everything. She had to prevent Barry from making a huge mistake. Before Barry could reach his radio, Sarah gently touched the man's arm. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice low so only he could hear. "I couldn't help but notice your jacket. Did you or were you in the military?" The man seemed surprised by the question. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes," he said quietly. "A long time ago." He seemed reluctant to talk about it. Sarah pressed gently. "What unit were you with?" she asked, her eyes searching his. The man shifted uncomfortably. "I'd rather not say," he mumbled. But Sarah persisted, sensing that this was important. "It's okay," she reassured him. "You don't have to tell me if you don't want to." "But were you with the 75th Ranger Regiment?" The man's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of recognition. He seemed to shrink back even more. It was clear now. Barry's wrong actions were about to be put to rest. The man hesitated, then sighed deeply. "Yes," he admitted quietly. "I was Sergeant Major Thomas Walker. Decorated, a long time ago. But that life, it's a lifetime away now." He looked down, his voice barely audible. "Now, I'm just do this." Sarah's heart ached for him. She knew about PTSD, about the struggles veterans faced when they came home. She knew that heroes didn't always wear shining armor. Sometimes, they wore worn clothes and carried invisible wounds. "Sergeant Major Walker," she said, her voice filled with respect. "Thank you for your service. I know things can be tough. I understand." She wanted to make things right for this great man. Barry was shocked. He had never been so wrong. This changes everything for Barry. Sarah turned to Barry, her gaze firm but gentle. "Barry," she said quietly, making sure others couldn't hear, "I think we can handle this ourselves. Sergeant Major Walker is a guest in our store. And we treat our guests with respect." Then, turning back to Sergeant Major Walker, she smiled warmly. "Please, Sergeant Major, allow me to pay for the bread. And anything else you need." She subtly gave Barry a disapproving look, a silent message that his judgment had been incredibly wrong. "We all make mistakes," her eyes seemed to say, "but it's important to learn from them." She knew that Barry needed to understand the impact of his actions. Sarah's kindness and respect were a stark contrast to Barry's actions. The tension in the air began to ease. Barry was starting to realize how wrong he had been. Suddenly, a man in the crowd stepped forward. "Thomas Walker," he exclaimed, his voice filled with surprise. "Sergeant Major Walker? Is that really you?" He approached Sergeant Major Walker with a look of awe. "I served under you in Afghanistan. You saved my life." The man's words broke the tension completely. Other customers who had been whispering began to murmur in agreement. "He's a hero," someone shouted. "He fought for our country." People started clapping and offering words of support. "Thank you for your service, Sergeant Major." The atmosphere in the store transformed from one of suspicion and judgment to one of respect and gratitude. Barry stood frozen, watching as the man he had so quickly condemned was now being praised and honored. His face burned with shame. Barry's face paled. He felt a wave of nausea wash over him. The cheers and applause seemed to mock him, reminding him of his terrible mistake. He looked at Sergeant Major Walker, really looked at him, and saw not a thief, but a hero. He saw the lines etched on his face, the weariness in his eyes, the quiet dignity that he had been too blind to see before. The weight of his prejudice crashed down on him. He realized how easily he had judged someone based on appearances, how close he had come to ruining the reputation of a man who had sacrificed so much for his country. Shame washed over him. He finally understood the gravity of his actions and the importance of looking beyond the surface. The lesson was sinking in. This was a turning point for Barry. He would never be the same. Despite everything, Sergeant Major Walker remained remarkably composed. He hadn't asked for the attention, hadn't sought praise. He just wanted to feed his dog. He stepped forward, his voice calm and steady. "Thank you," he said, his eyes meeting Sarah's. "Thank you for your kindness. It means a lot." He then turned to the customers, a gentle smile gracing his lips. "And thank you all," he said. "Your support is overwhelming. I appreciate it more than you know." He didn't mention Barry's accusations or the public shaming. He didn't hold on to anger or resentment. He simply expressed gratitude. His forgiveness was a testament to his character, a stark contrast to Barry's prejudice. His humility touched everyone's hearts. He was a true hero, inside and out. The others saw his kindness. They admired him for being forgiving. He was an inspiration. Barry, finally finding his voice, stepped forward, his head bowed low. "Sergeant Major Walker," he said, his voice thick with emotion. I am so sorry. I was wrong. So wrong. There's no excuse for how I acted." He looked up, his eyes filled with genuine remorse. "I judged you based on your appearance, and I was completely out of line." He continued, "Please, let me pay for your groceries. Let me make it up to you somehow." He paused, then added, "I promise you, sir, I will never judge someone like that again. I've learned a valuable lesson today." He hoped Sergeant Major Walker would accept his apology. He really wanted to make amends. This was a turning point for him. His heart had changed. He knew he would be a better man going forward. He learned an important lesson. He was really sorry. Sergeant Major Walker looked at Barry, his eyes filled with understanding. He saw the sincerity in Barry's apology, the genuine remorse that shone through. He smiled gently and extended his hand. "Apology accepted," he said warmly. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong. I appreciate it." He clasped Barry's hand firmly. "We all make mistakes," he continued. "The important thing is that we learn from them. Remember to always show compassion and understanding. You never know what someone else is going through." He paused, then added, "And yes, I'll let you buy my groceries, but only if you let me buy some dog food too." His grace touched Barry's heart. He knew he was forgiven. He would never forget this moment. The kindness that was shown to him was something he had never felt. He was changed for good. After Barry and Sergeant Major Walker went to get the groceries, Sarah approached the Sergeant Major with a proposition. "Sergeant Major Walker," she said, her voice sincere, "I know things have been tough for you. I admire your strength and resilience." She continued, "I have an opening here at the store. It's not much, but it's a steady job, and it comes with benefits. I think you'd be a great asset to our team." She smiled warmly. "More importantly, I want to help you get back on your feet. What do you say?" Sarah believed in giving people a second chance. She saw the potential in Sergeant Major Walker, the leadership skills, the dedication. She knew he would be a valuable employee. And she wanted to help him rebuild his life. She hoped he would accept. This was a chance for him to start over. She offered him a new life. It was a simple job, but it would help a lot. Tears welled up in Sergeant Major Walker's eyes. He hadn't expected such kindness, such generosity. He looked at Sarah, his heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you so much. I accept. I would be honored to work here." He saw this as a chance to rebuild his life, to regain his dignity, and to contribute to the community once again. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to work hard and prove himself. He also thought this was an opportunity to help other veterans. He wanted to show people that even heroes need help sometimes. He was looking forward to this new chapter. It was an exciting and promising time. He couldn't wait to start. His dog would be fed too. This was a fresh start. From that day forward, Barry was a changed man. He learned a valuable lesson about judging others, a lesson he would never forget. He realized that appearances can be deceiving and that everyone deserves to be treated with respect and compassion. He vowed to look beyond the surface, to see the person inside, and to always give people the benefit of the doubt. He made a conscious effort to be more understanding and empathetic. He started volunteering at a local homeless shelter, listening to people's stories and offering support. He became an advocate for veterans, raising awareness about their struggles and helping them find resources. Barry's change was real. He was now a man of kindness. His heart was open. He was a better person. He learned to appreciate the worth of every human being. He no longer judged. He would carry this lesson with him for life. He resolved to always be understanding. And so, Sergeant Major Thomas Walker began his new job at the store. He worked hard, greeting customers with a smile and always offering a helping hand. He found purpose in his work, and slowly, he began to regain his dignity and his sense of self-worth. He started a small support group for local veterans, offering them a safe space to share their experiences and connect with others who understood what they were going through. Barry, on the other hand, continued to work as a security guard, but his approach was completely different. He treated everyone with respect, regardless of their appearance. He learned to see the good in people, to listen to their stories, and to offer a helping hand whenever he could. He and Sergeant Major Walker became friends, often sharing stories and supporting each other. The store became a symbol of hope, compassion, and second chances. Everyone was welcome. It was all thanks to Sarah, who gave them a new start. The kindness they showed others spread,